This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you been thinking about therapy? Have you been trying to get in to see a therapist? Have you found that a lot of therapists that you've been recommended to have either closed books or they've got a really long waiting list? Sometimes months. If you're lucky, it's a couple of weeks. Now, what if there was an alternative that gave you quicker access and at your convenience? So when starting to think about looking for a therapist, try BetterHelp. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient and flexible to your schedule needs. So just fill out the brief questionnaire and get matched with a registered therapist. You can also switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So get moving with therapy and visit BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/Gunter today will give you 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Gunter, GUNTER.
Listening to Inspire Change, a broadcast that strives to educate, motivate, and empower men to challenge traditions of masculinity. To guide us through the intricacies and intersections of emotions, relationships, and male identity is renowned psychologist, author, and speaker Gunter Swoboda. This is Inspire Change.
Before I begin the actual podcast, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I work. I would also like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. Welcome everybody to another episode of Inspire Change with Gunter. I'm your host, and I sincerely hope that all of you who listened to my interview with Professor Greg Dwier really enjoyed it, got something out of it, and as promised on the podcast, we shall be revisiting a whole range of insights into humanity with Professor Dwier and some other very, very interesting guests. I'll be inviting Dr. Mark Williams again for another 50-minute in-depth look at some pressing issues from cognitive neuroscience. I want to invite someone who works in the lived experience sphere. And so we'll continue to deliver some really interesting stuff along the way. Now, what about today? Well, today I want to continue on our profound journey within the whole framework of making good men great. And what I want to talk about, because I see this as being fundamentally important into any change process, is the contrast between our constructed self and our authentic self, and how the making good men great framework can guide us towards a more genuine existence. So in a world where social expectations often dictate who we should be, discovering and embracing our authentic selves can be truly a revolutionary act. It's a form of activism in my book. So let's take a deep dive into understanding these concepts and how they shape our lives. So first off, let's get a bit of a handle on understanding the constructed self. The constructed self is essentially who we think we need to be. The constructed self is shaped by social norms, cultural expectations, and the roles we feel compelled to play. That might be from the tough guy facade to the relentless pursuit of success. Our constructed self can often lead us away from our true desires and needs and from who we truly are. So this persona, while sometimes protective, can be a very, very heavy mask to wear. It's built on the foundations of what we've been told masculinity should look like: competitive, stoic, and unyielding. But at what cost does this construction come to our happiness and mental well-being? So let me contrast that now for our quest for the authentic self. So in contrast, the authentic self is who we are at our core, where we're stripped of our social expectations and masks. It's about aligning with our values, with our passions, and our innate characteristics. Embracing our authentic self means acknowledging our vulnerabilities, our emotions, and our genuine desires. So, how do I discover that authenticity in me? Well, the first step is obviously self-awareness, and it requires a deeper introspection than what often we're used to. And most of all, it requires the courage to challenge social norms. So ultimately, it's about raising our awareness. It's a journey of self-discovery wherein we ask ourselves what truly makes us satisfied, fulfilled, and at peace. So let me go a little bit into the contrast between my constructed self and the authentic self on a somatic level, because ultimately one way of discovering where I am is when I experience a certain level of tension between the mask that I'm wearing and who I truly am. Now, I could discover that in social situations, I could discover that at work, I could discover that even in an intimate relationship where I'm trying to be somebody that authentically I am not. And I think that's a really important aspect to it. So, in the process, in the journey of self discovery, when I'm introspecting, a good starting point is to envisage myself how I think I should be with what I feel and how I think of myself outside of my defense mechanisms. Because remember, it's a certain level of tension that's going to give me some clues in this. And some of us are so trapped by our constructed self that we will conjure up stories of the imagination about who we are rather than what we truly are. And so, when people are caught out lying or inventing, CVs that are not accurate or that by and large are imagined, they are trapped by fundamentally their constructed self. Okay, so how does the Making Good Men Great framework fit in as a potential guide? Making good men great isn't just about questioning traditional masculinity. Fundamentally, I've put this together as a roadmap for men to discover their authentic self. And it's through recognizing that the 5 characteristics of patriarchy: territory, hierarchy, acquisition, competition, and combativeness, we can start to identify which aspects of our constructed self are holding us back. See, in of itself, being able to function within a hierarchy is not a bad thing. Taking care of some territory, also not a bad thing. Being somewhat acquisitional could also be a reasonable thing to do, especially in our, culture. It never hurts to be a bit competitive with yourself. Where it really falls down is when these 5 characteristics come together and cost us more than what it's worth. And the cost generally isn't necessarily material. Most of the time, it's emotional, psychological, and social. So, in Making Good Men Great, I'm encouraging all of us to reimagine masculinity in a way that values emotional openness, that puts together a sense of looking for mutual support and personal growth. It's about building supportive networks that foster our journey towards authenticity and helps us embrace a more compassionate and fulfilling vision of manhood. So let's make this practical. I'm going to give you some exercises designed to help you to become or get in touch more with your authentic self. These exercises are fundamentally inspired by principles in psychology, psychotherapy, and certainly by the Making Good Men Great framework. So the first exercise is journaling for self-discovery. I love journaling. It provides a period of time when I can get in my thoughts, write it out. As you might have guessed, I love writing. Okay, so what do? The purpose of this exercise is to explore and articulate your thoughts, your feelings, and your beliefs. You can do this as a daily reflection, so dedicate each day to have a time frame in it, a little window to reflect on your experiences, focusing on moments where you felt most yourself, or to contrast at least yourself. What were you doing? Who were you with? What values were you honoring or ignoring in those moments? Another part to this journaling is write a letter to your future self. So describe the person you hope to become, not just in terms of achievements, but in character, in values, and in emotional well-being. Not just individualistically, but within the context of your social network. Another exercise is essentially values clarification exercise. Now, the purpose of this is to identify and prioritize your core values. This is one of the things we do in Making Good Men Great, is we look at what are healthier values than the ones described in patriarchy. So create a list. Write down a list of values that resonate with you. This list can be extensive, or it could be, in fact, quite short. One of the ones that I often talk about is love, respect, and cooperation. Another exercise is mindfulness and meditation. Now, the purpose of this is to cultivate present moment awareness and reduce the influence of external pressures. So you can do this through daily mindfulness meditation, or, for example, with mindful walking. I often recommend a 30-minute a day walk to a lot of people. Anyone who's experiencing a challenge with just getting active, this is a good way to start. The next exercise that I want to leave you with fundamentally is the mask exercise. And the purpose of this exercise is to identify and understand the roles and personas you adopt in different aspects of your life. So on a piece of paper, draw or describe the masks you wear in different settings, like home, work, social situations. And for each mask, note the feelings and behaviors associated with it. So the reflection part of this exercise is to consider what each mask hides about your authentic self and why. Reflect on situations where you can safely lower these masks, even if it's only partially. So there's a lot more. I could give you a lot more exercises, but let's leave it with those for the moment. So if you integrate these exercises into your life, it can be fundamentally transformative. Remember, the journey to your authentic self is not linear. It's going to require some patience, some persistence, some discomfort, and most of all, compassion towards yourself. Embracing your authentic self is a powerful act of resistance against social pressures. And boy, do we have a lot of social pressures. An essential step towards fulfilling the Making Good Men Great framework's goal of reimagining masculinity and fostering personal growth. It's essential for those things. So, to conclude, and as I wrap up this episode for today, I want to invite you to reflect on your own life. Consider aspects of your constructed self that may not align with who you truly are. What steps right here and now can you take to live more authentically? So embracing our authentic self isn't just about personal liberation. It's a collective journey, one that heads towards creating a more compassionate and understanding world. So do another thing. Share your stories, your challenges, and your victories. Do that in your social circle, but if you feel it, share it with us. So together, let's inspire change and take one authentic step at a time. So thank you for joining me on Inspire Change with Gunter. So from here on in, we're going to take a few other steps in different directions. I want to explore a few more masculine related topics, and see you next time. This is me signing off. Love to hear from you. And if you're interested, please check out my work on www.guntersvoboda.com or www.goodmengreat.com.
Thank you for listening to Inspire Change, a broadcast that strives to educate, motivate, and empower men to challenge traditions of masculinity. For more information on the Making Good Men Great movement, or for individual or group coaching sessions with Gunter, visit goodmengreat.com. For inquiries regarding broadcast topics or appearing on the show, email Miranda@noirtainment.com. That's Miranda at NOIRTAINMENT.com.